I got a bar muscle up. I got a bar muscle up video that I want to start with, and then Elise sent that video in of doing some like bar muscle up drills that I think they go really well together, even though it's a different person. So I'm going to start with the bar muscle up, and then we'll go to Elise's drill because I think it's kind of a similar thing going on. Welcome, Chris. For the partnership. I'm gonna play it a couple times because he just got bar muscle ups and he's like just getting to the point where he can like string them like 2 on a really good day. What are some things you guys noticed pretty quick, good or bad?
He has really wide hands.
Exactly what I was gonna say, yeah.
I mean, unless his lats are that great.
Yeah, he's probably a hair wide.
You can jump more on a pike.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, that now that we pause there. Yeah, getting the feet out in front and being a lot more pikey in the L, that'll give him a much better like arch and momentum. I do like though, when he first got him, he was chicken winging really bad, and I gave him the cue, try to keep your feet together. I think he's doing a good job. Like here, obviously he is, and even back there, like they separate a hair, but I think for especially just getting bar muscle ups, he's doing a really good job with that. And it does fix the chicken wing. As far as good goes, I'm super happy with that. What's something else? Like what if anything looks weird? I've got something I don't like.
He didn't really cut like turn over on the bar. He kind of stays up very straight.
Yeah, his turnover. He almost like wants to revert, I think, a little bit to like pull up. Like he's doing an okay job at getting horizontal, but then when he actually turns over, instead of staying and keeping tension throughout, and as his torso is coming over the bar, the lower body is like teetering, and it'll allow him to smoothly turn over. He keeps his legs and feet in front, and then it almost makes the turnover like a little
Difficult.
stickier. Yeah, more difficult. I guess difficult's a good word. Difficult, sticky than it needs to be. So I think for Ty, when you guys see those muscle up drills, especially the one with like where someone's got like a barbell on the rig and they've got a roller and they kind of let themselves slide back and then they come up the roller and they like turn it over and they come off the ground and their whole body shifts, like that would be a really good drill for him. In person, I would maybe like as he's doing these, like tell him maybe try to kick your feet toward the wall as you're doing the turnover and see if that helps like that transition smooth out a lot more. You guys see what I mean there?
To the back wall.
The back wall. Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing, like what you noticed jumping into that, like if he jumps more pike and he gets more momentum here, which he does do a pretty good job, but if he just gets a hair more, I think he gets a hair higher, and that also would help this situation. So I don't think it's the root cause, but I do think it can just help what's going on there. Because like look at that's like actually a good spot to stop. Like he's turned over, but he's completely behind the bar. Like he has no position of support going on there. And luckily he's strong and can kind of like man strength his way through that a little bit. But really good improvement for him, especially coming from he had a horrible chicken.
So you wouldn't play with his hands, make him a little bit narrow because that
I
wasn't
don't
so far.
I personally don't hate it. There is room to come in a little bit. Like he's
It
not
feels
just
like it's
outside
gonna
the
be-
shoulders.
It's gonna be more difficult to actually, do that dip with hands that are so far away.
You're not wrong. He has room to come in. I just don't think that would be my personal first thing because I'm
Yeah.
that way.
So
And when
coming
I-
from the gymnastics course, they would say, yeah, there's stuff like keeping here and keeping all the time elbows down, and so you go all the time. And also the position, instead of breaking it with the legs, and then instead of going all the way here and above the bar, like
Like
keeping
teetering.
all the tension all the time. But then, threshold training, what would be in intensity used, um it's like the middle point in the middle with what
And I think like, obviously everything that the gymnastics coach is teaching as far as like positions and hollow and arches and tension is all correct. And it is somewhat, I think,
it
you
is what
wanna-
they call that's the master point. That's what you will strive to achieve. But it's okay
exactly my point.
to be in other points in order to get there.
To get there. Like that's what we're shooting for. But I think like the reality is, like you said, like when you start to, hit a workout and you're working the speed and you have some of that threshold training happening, like 99% of people aren't going to ever live at what that mastery is in that.
Yeah. So I recently came across to that Greg Glassman talking about that threshold training in cardio would be like, hey, pushing yourself in something in that point that you're still going improving your VO2 max. But in CrossFit is that putting that balance between what is a technique and what is
Mechanics.
intensity, and like it's okay if you break the technique, but you keep it safe. So
It's like
that's
if there's a threshold, right? And my hand's the threshold. We want to flirt with breaking that line when we're doing it with mechanics, like in a workout. Like we're gonna break it a little bit, and then we're gonna slow down a little bit to get our heels back on the floor for squatting. So it's kind of like this flirtation that's happening the whole time, and trying to ride that threshold line. Because I mean, perfect world, we're not gonna get right under it and stay under it all the time. Like no one's gonna do that. At some point, a fault's gonna occur. But like back to where he's at with his hands, you're right. They are for sure wide. It would be, I think, something to play with. Where he's at right now, it would just be something to play with. I don't know if narrowing it's gonna like take this window and make this window smaller, and he's already struggling with getting through that window, so it may become a little more challenging. Also some background info on him. He has a weird shoulder. He was like in buds with the Seals, and I know his shoulder gets weird, and that may be why he also jumps up a hair wide too, because he may not have pain in this wide. But yeah, textbook wise, he's definitely not just outside the shoulders there. But we also have to look at, like, for a bar muscle up, when people get too narrow, they lose their ability to have that window to get through. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's look at the drill. Let's get at Lisa's. All right, not knocking you, Lisa, at all on this, but just looking at this picture out of code. What do you got? I trust Elise, so I have no problem with her doing it. But there is no way on God's green earth, if I'm teaching class, I am letting anybody be on a box like that high. At some point, that's going to end really bad, and someone's going to fall. Especially because it's like a weight stack scenario.
Yeah, I was really lazy to get out the boxes, like the big boxes, but there was also class going on at the same time.
You were
So
sneaking in.
yeah,
Yeah, and like I trust you. I know you're going to be pretty cautious with it, but I mean, even us trainers that are cautious and careful with things like that, we got to be, mindful. And that was like a level 4 scenario like that. Like he probably auto failed right there. They'd probably tell you like stop. What would be a better way for her to set this up?
Obviously with the box. Like a
Maybe or
regular
maybe
box.
not. Ideally, no box at all, to be honest. like ideally, maybe she sets like a bar across the rig and bands the bar down, and she's
Yeah,
always on the floor. A regular box would definitely be like option B for that, because you know, when you're in class, you can't just do that all the time with banding, especially in spacing in the gym. But if you have that ability to keep somebody's feet on the actual floor and do a jumping pull up, a drill like this, definitely take that route before you put them on a box. And then if it is a box, you know, like you said, a regular box. And Road does make those attachments that stick off. Like those are awesome, but not all gyms have those.
Right. And then with the box too, like if, you know, doing what I'm doing, you need to secure it on the bottom, like with a weight. Cause if you go forward on that box is gonna
Like
go.
wants to tip.
Yep.
That's a good thought too. If it's like a box and you start to set it up on like a 30, like you have a tip factor that I think gets a little more there. Love the shape. We'll play it
So
one more
this
time.
is just a back story, 3-position drill. So I'm really working on like keeping the arms straight and pushing the bar down, and then having enough room for the turnover at the top.
That was the first thing I did notice. Like, I really like that your first one is just like a walkthrough position. You don't jump and make sure you're in hollow, you press down. And then like they kind of built dynamically on each other, and then you added a little jump and then the muscle up. I really, really like that. That was a really good complex there. Right, yeah. It's a fast one. So looking at this drill, Elise gave the backstory, right? You've got, she's focusing on two big things. She's focusing on shape behind the bar, right? We know we want to elevate in a hollow, especially on a bar muscle up, so we can have the ability to teeter and turn over. And she's focusing on this press down. So with those two things in mind, there's your cheat code for where your eyes are going in this drill. That's where I want you guys to think. Does she do it? Yes.
but I guess kind of the same as the other guy with her feet when she's doing that turnover.
That's part of it. Yeah, that's part of it. And that's a little trickier for Elise because she's coming off a box. So it's going to make it a little harder to like not nail yourself on the box when you're like teetering and turnover. And that's why like those like lower bar and those like real creative bar muscle up drills when people get the rollers are cool because it kind of allows that to happen some more, I should say. Watch her torso. That's where we're gonna focus in, especially when she does the bar muscle. What do you guys see there?
Yeah, I saw it.
It's super fast. Like, so it's good job. She's in the hollow. We love it. We love it even better. And then she reverts to that old habit, that old chest to bar habit. As soon as she starts to pull, where's she at?
Yeah, she's already pulling there.
She pulling, but she immediately goes into an arch to pull instead of keeping
Hollow.
her patience here and like, yeah, she's away from the bar and then it breaks and pulls herself as she turns over. She goes to like, oh, I got to get high now. I'm gonna reach. And that's like where I would say, like, at least next time you do it, have that real focal point that you don't reach. Even in the situation where you're doing these, and let's say you don't reach at all, and you don't make the bar muscle up rep. Like you go to do the jumping muscle up, and you hit like bottom of your sternum, and you don't pull over. But you hit bottom of your sternum in a good position. I think you're getting more value and bang for your buck, especially because it's a drill, than if you do like a wonky turn. Does that make sense?
So with most of these, I had like, was doing like 3 rounds. I was trying to do like 3 to 5 total, like combination, like reps of it. And to be honest, that was one of the ones that I completed, and I completed maybe 1 or 2 others. Other ones I hit too low, but I think I didn't video those.
Stayed in a better position.
Yeah.
Yeah. then that like, don't knock yourself for it. Like, that's a good thing. Like, it's, you know, if you equate it to other sports and let's say I'm hitting and I'm trying to keep two hands on the bat and I have one that I let go and I finish through with one arm, but I hit the ball and I hit it, you know, a decent line drive versus other ones where I maybe hit the ball and it's a ground ball and I'm not as happy with the results, but I followed through like I wanted. Like, that's actually the good rep, even though the outcome wasn't, you know, the perfect outcome. So yeah, when you go back to that and you practice it again, be totally okay with that. Take those reps, be golden with it, and then even like you guys could take this and advance it, and if you turned it into, you know, like Ty's problem with the muscle up, he jumps up and he's not in a pike. You can practice the jumping grip in the pike because that's a skill I think in itself that people struggle with sometimes. And then turn it into a chest to bar. Make sure you contact in the hollow or like a ab to bar. Like, just try to start to build the height of it. Next time you do them, Elise, let yourself have like a little combo. Like, hit a set of this, give yourself a 10-second break, and then just do one rep where you actually jump up on the bar and go through that motion. Because it's still very heavy skill, but also blending that physical component of like, you now are hanging body weight and you're going through with like you're not supported by the box.
Right.
Does that make sense to you guys before we move on? You're up next.
Oh, fun.
You guys think this was a good rep or a bad rep? Did you complete it or did you not?
In what sense? What do you mean?
Did you keep the bar on your shoulders and stand it up, or did you fail?
Oh.
All signs
Hold
all
on.
signs point to this is a good, she stood that clean up rep. I just want you to keep that in mind. It was a good spot I was accidentally paused on. It's there, right? Like, any coach that watches that, you're like, dude, what the hell? Like, that's regardless of any mechanic changes, like, that's there. So what does that kind of like automatically tell you a little bit? Like, we talked a little bit about the psychology, you know, with Justin and the girl doing the push presses that day. What would you tell her? What would you tell yourself, Pete?
I mean,
Go.
I just be more confident because that's a very
Yeah.
heavy weight for me and I don't like it.
It
I
for
don't like how
sure.
it feels, but
And that's like, there's your answer. Like, there's your sign, right? It is a heavy weight. Like, it's good load for you. I think that's 100% from what you told me. So it's like PR tie or something around there. That bar was on your shoulders, but it was like one of those cases that it's like, come on, just like want that lift a little bit more. So I think that was like a very psychological lift to where you're like, you're setting up and you're like, oh God, here we go. Heavy cleans. Not my favorite movement, you know? So it's like, step up to that bar and be like, you know, excuse me, I'm gonna make that bar my bitch. Like, I'm gonna control this barbell. Like, you kind of let the barbell control you versus that flip side other way around a little bit. Yeah, Chris said stay tight in the chat. I think that's definitely part of it because like, you're there and then it's like, ooh, it kind of melts away.
so that was a power. And I think that was also why, because it's really hard to receive it in that low power for me and then get up. So
Yeah, this position is a great job of getting under, right? Like, I love to see that.
yeah, with starfish. So that's
Yeah,
an improvement.
that's a huge win, and I don't like, just not for you, but a lot of people, like, that's a hard position, but that's like that where that like want that lift really
Yeah.
comes in because like you got a dogfight out of this a little bit to you know, save it, and you kind of let it. That's where I mean, like, it controls you. You
Yeah.
let it push you down, and then like Chris says, like, staying tighter and having to fight against it, it's like you kind of melt away.
Yeah.
So I think like when we see the Olympic weightlifting coaches slap their athletes on the back and they're like, come on, like a little bit of that here, I think would go a long way for this lift. So like from the psychological standpoint, like there it is. Yeah, with the 2-second pause, Chris said a 2-second pause for like 60-75%. Love that drill. We talk about that all the time. Let's look at now like mechanic, like what's the tell me something you guys noticed. There's some good stuff going on too. For sure, some good stuff.
She could have finished the hips a little more explosive in the third pull.
Let's work from the bottom up. Do we like her setup?
Yep.
Yeah, you got no problems with that. Looks like she's tense too, right? Everything's there. What about that first pull?
Got the knees behind.
The bar path was good. I'm gonna come back to that first pull because that's where I don't like something that's good.
So I think I started with my hips a little bit lower than I should, because then I'm lifting my lip. Like when I do the
Got a
first
little-
pull, my hips go up, like they adjust, and then I'm pulling. So I think I should just start with my hips a little bit higher and then pull.
So that may or may not be part of it. I don't hate this setup. I also wouldn't hate it if you lifted a half an inch. I think both of those positions that can start to play into like where are you most comfortable, and they would both be okay positions. What I don't like is like, and I see this all the time, especially with women lifters. They get to a point where they're either approaching their own body weight or they're at their body weight or slightly in front. And when they take off the ground, the weight wins, and the weight it's sometimes it's very subtle. The weight teeters them forward a little bit. Watch how like it's with that butt that comes up, but there's this like weight shift that happens. How everything just has this very slight forwardness that goes. I would like to see like when you take off, and Bergner even teaches like a drill for this. You can start the bar and see how it's against your shins. Like you've been lifting a long time, that I would trust you. Start it an inch off your shins. So when you take off, the bar rolls back and all of your body weight shifts back with it. So now that weight that is like basically heavier than your body weight, you are fighting it before it has an opportunity to pull you further. I do think that would make partly a difference in this. Especially because like when you do go to stick that bar in that really tough receive position of the power, you're not going to have any forwardness, versus if you just have a little bit, like that's going to be a real bad, like looks like a dog pooping type dog fight potentially. So I would just teeter the way back and then finish. Does that make sense? Do you guys see that? It's very slight. And obviously it's not just girls that lift. It happens to guys all the time too. I think guys are just a little more brute and like to try to like manhandle the bar a little more. So that would be that first pull takeoff. Like shoulder positioning there though, like one right above the knee. Like I do like that you're maintaining that position. Let's look at the third pull. Looks like she hits extension well.
Yeah.
Pretty happy with that. I think Elise, what you're seeing is like she does have a really fast change of direction because it's not propelling so high that she has time.
Well, the bumper plate was blocking that last quarter.
Yeah, you can't really see as well.
I think I could have received it with my elbows a little bit further through.
And I think that's like where the confidence really starts to come into play. So like that first psychological part, and like it's the same thing for Justin. Like when we looked at his cleans, and he kind of is like, I'm gonna softly put it there. And like new people do it all the time because why? They're nervous. They're putting a steel bar, they're putting a steel bar on their shoulder, and yeah, maybe they don't like it. Like really getting that bar wrapped on the shoulder too. something that helps me is like, if I'm doing a clean and it's a heavy clean, and heavy cleans always feel heavy. It's not like one day the heavy clean doesn't feel heavy anymore. I tell myself like, I had this on my shoulders. I've front squatted this before. Like all of those little things, I think psychologically can help you and give you the confidence to want to like stick that and be okay. And you know what? Yeah, it was a power clean, but are we upset if she accidentally hits a squat clean on this and it does push her a little deeper and she can't stick it, or it doesn't get so high and she has to squat it? Not at all. Like I would tell her, good job. We'll just try to stick to the next one. Right? You guys know the Mike Bergner saying on what's a failed power, what's a squat clean? Have you ever heard that? I can't swear that.
You just said it. It's a-
I believe. Yeah, so any Olympic weightlifting that's a squat, all that is a failed power. And that's what it should be. Nothing should change beyond that. So if you accidentally do squat in a situation like that, any of you guys, pat yourself on the back. That was a great job. Hell yeah.
I guess, yeah, I know. I guess in my, like, I was focusing on trying not to starfish so hard that, you know, I guess,
Your umph left.
yeah.
Get that. And it's sometimes you do like, I think have to hype yourself up a little bit, you know, before heavy lifts like that. That's like, you know, you see it on like Instagram and social media all the time. Like people scream, it's not for feet, and like, is it some theatrics? Yeah, I'm sure that plays into some people, but at the same time, like that's part of the approach that gets them fired up to not let that bar handle them. Like do what you have to do in that setup and that routine.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're gonna watch. There's a lot of people in this. It's gonna zoom in. We're gonna watch this guy in the blue shirt. I'll play it twice.
He's got one of them long femurs.
You can call one.
Very long, like awkwardly long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like a basketball player.
Yeah.
He's got those long limbs.
Yep.
So that obviously you look at this video, and like, you don't got to be a coach to know there's some stuff going on here, right? Watch it one more time, like just anything you notice.
When he goes and shifts his weight to the toes every
Yeah,
time.
it's real toesy, right? So that's going on. There's not a lot of tension either. Like he's like a waving flag. Like a couple times the bar goes in front of his head. There it is.
Yeah.
Right. So just generally, and like obviously, I don't need to know him to know that like he doesn't have a ton of experience in CrossFit or overhead squat. Like this is super new to him. He also, is he young? He looks pretty young.
Yeah, he's very young. He's maybe just 20.
Right. And this, I'm gonna point one little moment out that I think can really separate you as a coach. If you can identify little things like this, right here. Right.
Oh, his arch.
He's not even. He's not super focused in on like what he's physically doing right now. He's looking over, seeking. I don't know where the coach is, but he's either seeking approval from a coach, or
Coach
he's
is
looking,
in front of him, kind of to the side.
or he's looking at like another athlete to see what they look like, to see if he's doing it right. So like I can just, you can see the newness all over it. So like with that being said, even though he's got a ton of things going on here, approaching someone like him, he's super young, super new, he's seeking approval. Like let's gas him up and let's give him as much confidence and like good job, high fives while correcting him as possible. Versus just going in and tearing apart his overhead squat that we know needs a lot of work right now. So I want him to feel good about what he's doing and not him to feel like, oh God, I'm really bad at this CrossFit. I'm terrible at overhead squats. Oh, I see they come up and he's like, I'm gonna skip that day. So I want to make sure that I leave him feeling good, even though I'm about to go in on his movement. because it's an overhead squat walk, the snatch is terrible,
Yep.
but he's not compromising anything. He's super lightweight, so I'm gonna selectively ignore what's going on with that snatch, and just have him work on something here. I think there's two really good things you can work on here with him, and they would have the same theme. Give me one of them.
I think he needs to slow it down a little bit.
Slowing it down goes with both things that I would have him focus. So regardless of which route I take, I want him to go slower. Do you remember what the workout was, Dee, by any chance?
Yes, it was 10 overhead squats and 30 barbell like hop over the bar. Just 30
Okay.
hops.
So overhead squats is definitely the complexity of the workout, like nothing else to it. And 10's not such a high number that I'm gonna be super concerned about him going slower and getting like left in the dust by class. I'll probably just keep him at 10, get more practice. So yeah, let's slow down. One or two things
I would
that
say
I would go with here.
initiate the squat with the hips first, sit back.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Let's go butt back and then down first, because that's going to start to address that all that forwardness for the heels. That's going to make him feel a lot more flat-footed. I think that with the combo of slowing down just does a lot for it. I would let him do that. I would be on top of him. I would give him a lot of positive encouragement and feedback on it. And then let's maybe go to the next day. What would be the next day? And let's assume that like he's doing good, feet are staying a lot flatter, he's initiating well.
I would do active shoulders.
Yeah, let's get tension. Let's really, really push up, right? I think regardless of the route that you go, the butt back and down, the active shoulders, if you can give him that slow down, you can also help him get to depth because he's going slower. I think part of the reason his depth is shallow is, one, he just may not have any clue where he is because this is very new. He's a tall dude. We know that can be pretty challenging, for long limbs especially. But if you see like right there, he loses it. He pauses a second. If you take him and slow him, he hopefully will lose some of that wobbliness, especially if you do those active shoulders, and then we can just slowly sink it, right? In worst case, I can give him a med ball while I do work on butt back and down, while I do work on active shoulders, and then, start to take those targets away as those things improve.
So you would give him the med ball even with that weight, you wouldn't maybe like give him a PVC and have him go to the med ball with the PVC?
I think it depends. Like if when I start to cue and like correct him, if he's responsive in a really good way and he shows me the ability to be here, then yes. I would just leave him there. If I'm cueing and correcting him and like we're not going anywhere, then it's clearly too heavy. Then yeah, I would either go empty bar or PVC pipe. There's a big piece of that though that we didn't get any control over, and why he's here and why he has that load in the first place. This should have never technically happened. So when I'm going through class and we're teaching an overhead squat and we're warming it up, like I'm gonna either give some kind of task, like, hey guys, we're gonna do 10 unbroken squats, and I'm gonna time them, and if they can't do the 10 in under a minute, then we're gonna lighten the load. Or if they can't do the 10 and hit depth, we're gonna lighten the load. That's another good one. If their shoulders are going in front of their toes and they're kind of like pulling one of these, then we're gonna lighten load. Like if I'm gonna lay out all those rules with my coaching, so he never ends up at a point that it's too heavy. Does that make sense? So the opportunity is there to never be in this position that when you're in a workout, we're like ripping down the house because, oh no, this is too much weight for him. But we shouldn't have even got there in the first place. We should have coached that and laid those ground rules down. I think this is just purely what I think. I have no background in this. I think he would be responsive to some of the cueing at this weight, because obviously he didn't put a bunch of weight on the bar, but just like the way he's looking over at coach and like kind of seeking out, am I doing a good job or am I not, shows me that he is
He is coachable.
Fair. Yeah, and he
Yes.
would take feedback pretty well. The
He
person
is.
the person wouldn't be looking for coach if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, no, he's a good kid for sure.
But yeah, I think overall, if you slow him down, that alone would make a big difference. And then you add the butt back and down, that'll help with the frontal plane, that'll help with the heels. And then he just needs tension and active shoulder. And that just may be something he doesn't really understand yet. He may have heard the term active shoulder in the coach's coaching, and what does that mean if you're not in CrossFit for the last few years?
Yeah.
But yeah,
This
I
was,
think
by
those
the
are
way,
the names.
This was the same kid that we showed him months ago, and he was doing back squats on a box. And I was asking you because he's so awkwardly long.
Yeah, I remember. It was when he was in like week 1 or 2. He was literally brand new.
Yeah.
I do remember. Yeah, so I think he has the ability to for sure get there. He just needs some coaching and help. You guys want to look at a 21-year-old me doing an overhead squat, some crossovers, or hipping dip?
Hipping dip.
Skipping
Oh
dip.
shit.
Oh,
Right.
Dave, you're screwed. I'm just kidding.
You. Boy, did that one backfire, huh?
I was so excited to see somebody else try them.
With you.
That's so fucking hard.
A good example, though.
Look at that. Look at that bottom hold there. Were you surprised you got the first one? Because your face,
Yeah.
wow.
I was.
Huh.
I was. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but I felt like I
Felt
felt
the
a little
help.
bit of momentum.
Was this after we talked about it? Was it last week or 2 weeks ago? And Jose was like explaining how did you say the dip was? The kip was, sorry.
Is you keep the knees up. It's not like you kick down.
Yeah, which does really good here. And I actually think when we talked about that, Dee, I'm pretty sure you did this after to practice, and that conversation helped this scenario here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of why I sent this video, because I do think it's a pretty good example overall into what that conversation was back then. That one I think had the good timing, and then this one,
Not so much. Yeah.
timing was just off a little bit. There is a position I want to talk about. My gymnastics people, you may be fresh on this. That could make a big difference. What would you change about this?
Am I maybe a little bit too forward with my chest? Sorry. What?
I'm interested in hearing what Jose remembers because he had a pretty extensive conversation with the gymnastics coach about it. I forgot, but you guys were getting pretty deep into it. What were some of your highlights from that?
I was like, they didn't like too much keeping because you need to keep holding the positions.
It's
So
a
I was
pause.
like, hey, do you think about breaking? You break the position of the hollow when you are there. Do you think it's fine if you break it going down and then keep it up? And then he said, yes, but you need to keep the tension during the whole time. So it's like going down, keep up and keep the, so it's like keep that tension in like the hollow all the time, even if you kind of break it in the hips by bringing up.
So it's a funny conversation because to his point, like if you watch D, there's a pause, just stop a half second and then go. I would say the more versed you get, the smaller that pause becomes, but there is like that second pause. And obviously, if we're in gymnastics and we have a moment in time we're not moving in a support like this, like it's going to fatigue. And then the flip side goes, why are we kipping? Because I need the help in my strict dips aren't there anymore. So it's kind of like a weird rock and a hard place catch 22. And there is, I still need to take a video. There is like this little butterfly ring dip that I can do, and it's like I can do on good days. And the kip is opposite. The common theme though is when she kips, she's straight. Like Jose said, the knees go up, and that's what propels the finish. Not when she's down here, the knees are up and she tries to kick down. That's not where we want momentum to go. So really, really good job here. So when you guys have ring dips in your gym and all the rings are at belly height, you can't really kick properly. Like you have to raise the rings to about a chest height to be able to be long like he is in the bottom here, to be able to throw the knees into the chest. I think that's part of the reason so many people have issues and they don't understand the kip because they're just setting up in a way that they really can't even execute it. Happens all the time. In this position here, I would make one small adjustment. So a lot of times, stop it there. So you see how she's like a banana and the feet are almost in front of the rings? We don't want that. She kind of adjusts it when she's getting ready to throw the knee. See how she brings her feet back? We want to be in this hollow, and when we go down, our torso actually teeters a little bit. So my like chest and head are like in front of the rings. My like shoulder, it's like more like thoracic too, are like stacked, and then like basically my belly button down are behind the rings. So when I'm at the top, I'm straight as a board in this very, very slight hollow. I'm not like a banana. I'm more up and down. When I go down, I teeter, and that teeter, her feet could be behind the rings more, and it would give her more momentum to then throw the knees up. Versus if she started throwing the knees here, she doesn't have as much to throw them up. Like if you're going to kick something hard, do you kick with your feet under you, or do you bring your leg back and then kick forward? It's the same thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Let's watch the second one when you throw them. You still should go back, but it's still like kind of under. So keep in mind that teeter down will give you more to throw with. I saw Jose nod his head. Yeah, that they did say that.
Yeah, he said that it was like when he did it, I'm like, that's uncomfortable for me because it's like he was forward like diagonal, but his
Yeah, like an
elbows were
angle.
way back.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay,
It's
that's
almost like you're still balancing that frontal plane, but you're balancing on this very fine point, basically, that's there. That's a position I think you don't spend a lot of time in. So unless you're on the rings regularly, like it's probably gonna feel uncomfortable for a while until you really get yourself acclimated. And that's why I think when we do support holds, like the top and the bottom are both important positions to get comfortable in. The butterfly dip. When she's coming down, we would do the opposite. So I'm saying we want to be teetered. When the feet are behind the rings, we throw the knees up into the chest. So we have distance to move there. If we're butterflying, I'm kind of coming down and I'm intentionally having my feet behind. So when I hit the bottom, instead of kicking my knees into my chest, I'm kicking my heels into my butt. So now the momentum ends up circling forward with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just so hard.
Very hard. It's very hard, and it's high risk, high reward because it's so dynamic that I do think like that one regionals where there was ring dips and there was ring muscle ups and everyone started tearing their pec, and I think it was overused. Everyone was hitting these regional wads getting ready to go. And like you saw, like that was like an introduction to a butterfly ring dip. I think you have to be very careful when applying. I learned them on pure accident doing strict dips that just got a little swingy, and I was like, hold on, I'm on to something here. So like I learned them by pure accident. But I'll get a video. The best way to also picture that is when you watch people do ring muscle ups and they go through and they kick their feet behind them and they kick the dip on the ring muscle up. That's the motion. It would just be that on basically is what the butterfly is.
Yeah.
Like a pretty good example of that. I think that's probably one of the first videos we have that shows the knees going in the direction that they need to go for the kipping dip.
Yay, I did one.
Now it's just practice and you get the timing down. Hunter got him the other day too, and his face was exactly like yours.
You ever had kipping dips?
No,
No.
he did everything strict and complained that dips were hard. And then one day I told him to knee himself in the chest and he did it and he went, I was like, yeah, it's much easier. All right, let's look at Jose. I got a few videos of him doing crossovers. I went with this one because it's kind of a middle ground video. And then there's another video with a heavy rope that you can see a good difference as well. I didn't get a chance to upload it, but I want to talk about it.
Can I ask you a quick question on kipping dips again?
Yeah.
So I've just now kind of established I can get a couple strict dips now. Not on rings, but on straight bar, what's called Matador bar. And I'm thinking now, should I even start attempting to try to do kipping on that straight bar and I can get like 2 or 3 strict? Or should I just wait? Focus on maybe other rings or something like that.
How many strict are you getting?
I think I was
I have
able
a
to get
couple questions.
3. I tried it for the first time in probably like, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, which I couldn't do 5-6 months ago. And I've been working all the eccentrics. And then a couple days ago I tried it and I was like, oh, I got 3 out of nowhere.
I would
So-
try to build to like a little higher of a ceiling. Like I would try to get to 5, which would be like my real magic number. The thing about the horns is I don't know if you're gonna need the hell out of it trying to do a kip. You might not be able to, just because of the way it's structured. So I would say once you really establish like a solid 5, take yourself to the rings and start establishing holds. So start working like top holds, the bottom of the dip holds, and then especially at the top, when you start to feel very strong with like a 45 turned in, start to work your hold with like a neutral.
Yeah, that's actually what I've been doing. I just I went to the static position because that's what they were teaching at the gymnastics course, of like static before dynamic. So I was like, all right, let me take a step back. I'll get off the rings. I'll stay on the static position. Then I did it, and I was like, oh, wow, this is surprising. But yeah, what you're saying is what I've been doing. I've been doing top holds, bottom holds, and then I've been doing the eccentrics. That's all I was doing. Nothing concentric at all.
I think that's really smart. Yeah, I would say you're at a point, especially with the strict dip on the horns. I call them horns. That you're okay being on the dynamic, like especially when you're doing holds. So I would implement that, and then I would just implement those different angles because if you can eventually get to like a palm out, we know you're in really good shape, especially for the rings. And then let yourself start to get a little creative also on the horns, like. It doesn't have to just be, a set of 3 strict dips. Like it could be you create these little complexes for yourself. It could be a set of 3 dips with a 10-second support hold at the top of each one, or 3 dips into a hold, or it could be like 3 dead stop dips where you go down, you do a 1/1000 in the bottom, and then you come out. So let yourself get creative with like those little pauses and tempos as well on the static implement. That will only make them that much better too. Yeah, I just don't know like if you have the space to try to kip on the horns. I would just keep hammering shit strength on those because you might need the hell out of it.
Well, when I'm at, I can also do one of the parallel
Oh,
bars.
you have, I forgot you guys have those bars. I did forget that. I would still try to get to 5 and then I would implement like more dynamics. That way you have a really strong base of the picture.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally forgot you guys have those bars. Okay, let's go rope. Do one more. I like this video because I think overall it's a great example. What's you guys' first impression? Very nice.
Very consistent. Every jump
Yeah.
is pretty much the same.
Consistent. Yeah, I think that's a part of this. The video before the jump was a little different. I'll get into in a second. This was definitely like Jose locking in and working on something. But yeah, pretty nice overall. He shows me he's got some good consistency. I like the mechanics of what's happening with the arms. Like he's very committed to get those the rope handle pointed the other directions. So I think like with that consistency, gives room to work on something. And then the thing he's working on here, see if you guys can catch it, watch his jumps. A little pikey jump, and then just like a small jump when it's the regular single, and that was his focal. The video before they were much pikier, so I can see a nice difference there, Jose. I think you did a really good job. And I would just what would you guys like implement on this to help him getting comfortable getting the height of that jump without like tucking into that pipe?
Jumping higher, try to jump higher.
Yeah, jumping higher, and then maybe just simplifies it. So like in the warm-up sets are like high jump singles.
Right.
Jose's goal is to just get really strong and really good at jumping like a pogo stick, high consistent, right? Because I think sometimes the pikiness that you see with people's ropes comes from like, that's a challenging thing. Not saying Jose can't do it well, but so they can't get the height they need like a pogo stick, so they have to tuck or they have to bend the knee and get the butt behind them. So that was my first thought, Jose. It's just practice being able to jump with those straighter legs on just really slow high singles to acclimate yourself.
So this was in the middle. It's a workout for intervals. It was ropes and then something. It was power clean and jerks. And I was told, someone that just did it before me, he was like, your jump rope is short already because you use it for double unders.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are opening your arm, like you're crossing it close, but then you're opening it like
Opening too far.
yeah, your elbows are going too far, so you're making it even shorter, and that's why you think that you need to put your knees up. So I switch for
That's a
the
good
last
cue.
two rounds. Yeah, like he was telling me, try to keep your elbows closed. Try to, but it was like I was like I couldn't do it and it was super tiring jumping in and making that every time you cross knees up. Every time I cross, I was
Yeah, you're burning way more energy.
so I
I think
switch.
that's a really good catch. That because you were just going really wide is shortening the rope and causing you to have to jump higher.
I switched to
looking-
a longer and heavier jump rope.
So in the switch, I did get a chance to watch that video. You can see the ease of like when Jose's moving and jumping. That the jumps are more the same. Like one's not tiny and then the other one's real pikey. They're much more consistent. I also think because the rope is a little heavier, that your feedback on it it allows you to be a little quicker with the revolution. Because when you watch them side by side, it does look like the heavy rope is a faster rep cycle for you. And it made me think of the beaded ropes that you see people use. It gives them some good feedback on the crossover. That's a good cue and something to look at. Like I didn't think about the arms crossing when I was initially watching this video. I thought of what I struggle with, which is the actual pogo stick jump. So I'm glad you brought that up because it gives us two things to now think about when we see an athlete like having that struggle. Why are they like more like the recross? But I think you're pretty damn good at this.
Yeah.
My max that's like 30. What? Cool. What time? We're right about an hour. We can call today a day. You guys have anything before we wrap it up?
Nope.
Would you like to see something in the future that I would be on the look for, if to recording or anything?
Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
Like if you want to see something
Oh,
to
like something.
analyze.
Nothing. I mean, nothing like super on the top of my head. I would just say if there's a movement that like you guys want to see, or like a movement it doesn't even have to be like a sole movement. Like I remember when I started coaching, I really didn't want rope climbs to come up because I didn't have like a good plan of coaching them. So it could be stuff like that too.
Good
So
one. We
any-
haven't gone over rope climbs.
Yeah, I don't think we have looked at rope climbs. So yeah, rope climb could be a good one. But anything you guys want to see, and it could be something that you just struggle cueing athletes through, or something you just personally like have a hard time with. So whatever that is, feel free, send them on it.
There's someone that likes to run 5Ks very regularly, and she has been improving. We've seen her that she was the one that was running like
yeah,
this.
I remember her.
She has improved her times. I wanted to record her actually in the street running.
Yeah, get one of those.
Yeah,
That would
okay.
be a good one. Yeah, whatever you guys really want to see or anything like that, even if it's those little coaching clips, like Jose has sent in before, like I like those. Definitely get a little more nerdy on like teaching some correcting in class with that. I'm also going to do, I told Jose, every like first Thursday of the month, I'm just gonna do like a community Thursday. So if like there's anyone that wants to get on and doesn't want to sign up in the app, and the app has a 21-day free trial, but still people are a little weird about actually doing that. If they just want to get on with like not having to do any of that, I'm going to do that every first Thursday. So anybody, athletes or coaches, can jump on. There was like 5 people that said they were coming, so we'll see how it goes. But that's all I got for now. We'll keep hammering away on the nutrition for Tuesdays. We'll get a little bit more in depth. I found another like little article that's not in the study material, but it's from one of the health summits about nutrition that I want to put in. So we'll do some level 3 stuff as far as that, and some like more newer stuff that has been put out as well. And if you guys have any questions or like very specific things you want to look at as far as nutrition, let me know.
I haven't Googled any about EC or anything. Maybe just click on that article. But now I get her advertisement of her next one comes in April 13 or something. I was like, "Ugh."
Yeah, I got it. Let me see real quick, because I know you were asking. Yeah, her 3 pillars. She's doing a new one. Let's see if the date is April 17th. Oh, that's like it's 10 weeks, by the way. We were trying to figure out. April 17th is next week, so that'd be a fast turnaround. Because it is like $1,000, but yeah, she's on the map. She's good to follow. She puts a lot of good content out. All right. Okay. I'll see you guys on Tuesday then.
Awesome. Thank you.
You guys are welcome. Bye.